I'm standing here making some barbecue, checking on the bark of my chuck roast that has been cooking for about an hour, maybe 2 hours at this point. And it made me think about a lesson that I was trying to teach my older son when he asked me a question that honestly I had a hard time answering. And it was, Dad, when am I going to get good at something? And that's kind of a tricky question. I can't necessarily give you an answer when you're going to become good at something because there's no real timetables. A lot of ways it's kind of similar to barbecue. I can have a plan that, we're going to have this chuck roast ready at 4 o'clock, but the meat chooses how long it takes. Meat also chooses sometimes whether or not it's going to become great or terrible or mediocre or somewhere in between. Yeah, I can cook it at 235. I seasoned it with my salt and pepper and I spritzing it, as you can see ever so often. But one of the greatest lessons that I've learned in barbecue that I'm actually trying to teach my kids is even if you do everything right, even if you follow all the steps, it may not work out. It may not go the way you want. But what do you do with that, right? Life is going to throw you a lot of curveballs. You're going to have these instances where, despite checking the temperatures I've been doing, coming out every 30 minutes, spritzing it, I'm going to wrap it. I'll put some beef broth with it and let it braise and try to get a nice smoky flavor with it. Doesn't mean that it's going to come out good. In fact, actually, I've made this a few times and it's sometimes a 50-50. Sometimes even at 205 degrees, it is still tough and hard to pull apart. So explaining that to an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old is difficult because they don't quite understand why if you follow all the steps, it doesn't work out. But that's life, right? So what I have taken away from that is actually a lesson my dad taught me in that sometimes when it doesn't work out, like the barbecue sometimes is too dry or it's like shoe leather, and trust me, I've made my fair share of shoe leather. Sometimes you just order pizza. Sometimes you switch it up. You try something different. But the ultimate goal is to not quit, to keep coming back. This is maybe the 7th time I've made chuck roast in the last, say, 8 months or so. And the nice thing is chuck roast really isn't overly expensive, especially with the price of beef lately. But I keep coming back. And each time I do it, I learn a little bit more. I try something different. I add a new step and I see if it works out. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I don't let it stop me on the process. And I think ultimately, if we're able to convey that lesson, that's what I'm trying to teach my boys, that you don't give up. You just keep adjusting, you keep moving, you keep growing, that eventually you will succeed one way or the other, or you'll get better at it. And that's really the goal. I think barbecue can teach us a lot of things with that, like that, and patience. Because listen, the meat's going to be ready when the meat's ready. Just because I'm cooking it at 235 doesn't mean it's going to be ready at exactly 4. Roll with the punches. Try your best and see what happens. And of course, order pizza.